3 years. That's right. 3 years ago almost, we got this post from Ripple. The global stablecoin race is on. What I find crazy about this post is just how ahead of time it actually was. Because 3 years later almost, and everyone wants to launch a stablecoin. Stablecoin adoption has, surged in a huge way. The government now wants to embrace stablecoins. They want to utilize stablecoins as a weapon. You can't make this up. Things have changed drastically since November 2022. And again, in this video, we have a lot to talk about. But first, let's actually look into a few things. Number one, right off the rip, let's look at what was happening back in 2022 that caused Ripple to write this article. Well, it was the monthly transfer volume, right? Or trading volume, I should say. $1 trillion in monthly trading volume. In August, guess what? We are now up to $3+ trillion in monthly trading volume in stablecoins. That's how fast things change. And what's crazy about this, right, is we look at this and we don't really think much. But $1 trillion, the second that we surpassed $1 trillion, that's what accelerated all of this. We're now at $3.44 trillion in monthly transfer volume. By the way, not an all-time high. We're looking at the monthly real quick. This is not an all-time high. I mean, it's crazy to think about this, but we go back to December, $4 trillion. We go back to even May of 2024, $3.6 trillion. I mean, this is how fast stablecoins are moving now. The volume and the value tied to them is just so insane. And on top of that, we just recently talked about the M2 supply being affected by stablecoin supply. The base case by 2030 is 1.5 trillion or 5.19% of the global M2 supply. Think about how crazy that is. On top of that, the bull case is 3 trillion. Guys, we're only at 270 billion almost. So the base case here, to get to 1.5 trillion, you're talking about, let's just round it up to 3 trillion or $300 billion. You're still looking at 1.2 trillion to be added to the stablecoin supply within the next 5 years. Guys, think about what type of monthly transfer volume we would be at that point. But again, this is telling us that stablecoins are going to continue to surge. Goldman Sachs actually recently announced that we're on the verge, right? They're saying that we're on the verge of a stablecoin gold rush worth trillions of dollars. Guys, when someone like Goldman Sachs is saying the quiet part out loud, maybe it's time to listen. Because again, the main thing that we're looking at is what the US Treasury is telling us, what the SEC is telling us, what this presidential admin is telling us. And guess what they're all saying? They are going to utilize stablecoins to ensure that the dollar is the dominant reserve currency in a digital age of finance, which tells us what? They are going to weaponize stablecoins, specifically US dollar-backed stablecoins. And you already know where I'm going with this. We're thinking about RLUSD. We're thinking about Ripple. We're even thinking about the XRP ledger. But what's crazier about all of this is that Wyoming is now introducing a state-backed stablecoin on 7 blockchains. We now have state-issued stablecoins. Things are starting to change in a big way, and it's not just happening on a government level. It's even on a state level. This is telling us that almost every single move that has happened in the last couple months, that's small. compared to where we're headed. I think almost every single state is going to have their own stablecoin. Think about it. All of the processes that states do and have on a day-to-day basis, everything can be made 100 times more efficient if they tapped into stablecoins and blockchain and DLT. That's where we're headed. These are the beginning stages of that. Now, let's go back to that post. The global stablecoin race is on. Well, we know the US is getting ready, right? They've been telling us all about stablecoins, how they want to utilize stablecoins. Crypto firms urge UK to form national stablecoin strategy to avoid falling behind the US. The UK should form a national stablecoin strategy to avoid falling behind the US, several crypto firms said. In an open letter, representatives from Coinbase, Kraken, and Copper said that the UK must act now to avoid being a role taker rather than a role maker in the digital asset era, because the stablecoin market is now worth over $280 billion, and that tokens pegged to the British pound have a combined value of just £461,000, equivalent to $621,000. So again, the US is dominating this space right now. If the UK wants to get behind this, now is the time to act. The race is on officially. This is after we got this big update back in the beginning of this year from the White House titled Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology, where they fully embraced stablecoins in a huge way and blockchain technology. This is where they told us that they want to utilize stablecoins as a weapon, essentially. They want to utilize it to make sure that the US dollar is still the global reserve currency, the dominant currency in a digital age of finance. Now, here we have China. Just in, China is considering allowing yuan-backed stablecoins. Japan to approve yen-pegged stablecoins for the first time in early as this fall. Treasury Secretary Besant says crypto stablecoins will expand dollar access for billions across the globe. On top of that, Federal Reserve Governor Waller says stablecoins and other cryptocurrencies are part of a payments revolution. Guys, all of this happened in the last 72 hours. This is why I keep saying that stablecoins are only accelerating more and more and more. The adoption, the value, the volume is going to surge like you'd never thought before. Here we have the video of Governor Waller saying that the Federal Reserve plans an important role in fostering a payment and settlement system that is safe and efficient. Big shout out to Subjective Views for this. Listen closely.
I am a strong believer in the benefits of the free market. I hold the view that it is generally the private sector that can most reliably and efficiently allocate resources and take risks to explore the value of new technologies. I also see firsthand the important role of the Federal Reserve in that it plays in fostering a payment and settlement system that is both safe and efficient. Such a system promotes a vibrant economy since it allows for participation from a broad range of individuals and businesses without requiring them to invest heavily in bilateral arrangements. I am a strong...
And yeah, the fact that we have these types of individuals telling us about stablecoins, about, blockchain itself, I mean, we are starting to witness the big step towards integration. We are going to see our entire payment and settlement system completely change over the coming years. On top of that, we think about RLUSD. We think about RLUSD. We think about Ripple because, again, here we go back to just August 18th. The OCC says community banks can partner with stablecoin companies to drive innovation and offer new products. Comptroller Jonathan Gold notes stablecoins offer these institutions new ways to serve their community's payment needs while the regulator updates supervisory frameworks. We also got a big update from the OCC back on August 18th. Community banks can partner with companies developing stablecoins to foster innovation and offer new products. The OCC will review and update as necessary its regulatory and supervisory approach to ensure it supports innovations in banking and the vitality of community banks. Now, I also believe that they made another post, and I want to say that it was a little bit later or earlier in the month. Yeah, it was this one actually, which is with Jonathan Gold as well. The OCC approves proposals to establish banks that have a reasonable chance of successful business and operations, provide fair access to financial services, comply with laws and regulations, promote fair treatment of customers, and foster healthy competition. What do these two have in common? We go back here, right? We go all the way back to July 9th, where we have Justin, Ripple to bridge crypto and TradFi. Brad Garlinghouse confirms Ripple is pursuing a U.S. banking charter OCC license and a Fed master account, calling Ripple a bridge between crypto and TradFi. We're not anti-regulation. We want in the right way. And guess what? These two go hand in hand because Ripple has a stablecoin, a US dollar-backed stablecoin. They now want to become a bank. They want to get their banking charter license with the OCC. They also want a Fed master account, which would allow the Fed to hold RLUSD in reserves. Why wouldn't this get approved if we're thinking about how we can weaponize stablecoins to back the US dollar and make sure that the US dollar is that dominant reserve currency in the digital age, when, again, a US-based company like Ripple that's been working with regulators trying to be as compliant as possible, one of the most dominant companies in crypto, has ties back to XRP and the XRPL for, instant settlement, the best efficient technology for transactions. Why wouldn't Ripple get this license? Why wouldn't they grant them this license to make sure that RLUSD is as successful as possible and Ripple is as successful as possible as well? It makes a lot of sense, but listen closely to this.
You still want a banking license, right? Even though you have this deal with BNY.
Well, yes is the short answer. We have pursued and requested application to apply for an OCC license as well as a Fed master account. We think that the key here for crypto and the kind of decentralized finance, as many people call it, Ripple has been building bridges between traditional finance and decentralized finance. The world isn't going to be taken over by crypto. Instead, we think about how do we take the best of what crypto brings in facilitating faster, cheaper transactions and bring it to traditional finance. That's been at the heart of what Ripple has been focused on from the beginning. This is a step towards that, and certainly getting an OCC license. For those that have said that the crypto world wants to be unregulated, whatever, the opposite is true. I'm here in Washington in part, as you referenced, there's a Senate Banking Committee hearing today. We are advocating as an industry to be regulated. And those that, like Ripple, who have stepped forward and said we want to get an OCC license, in addition to the licenses we have with the New York Department of Financial Services, it only continues to augment that very robust, very compliance-first, trusted partner so that we can continue to use these technologies to benefit consumers and businesses alike.
So yeah, when we think about what's happening here, the market is really opening up for RLUSD and for Ripple. If we can get this license, it will be this will change the entire game. Now, on top of that, I do want to say, and big shout out to Subjective Views for this, RLUSD will disrupt traditional payment rails and be a fixture in the financial system, while XRP will be the granddaddy utility asset. Check this out.
One recent development, Congress passing the Genius Act and the
By the way, this is Michelle Bowman from the Federal Reserve.
President signing it into law, has brought stablecoins to the forefront of many discussions. And they're now positioned to become a fixture in the financial system, with implications and opportunities for the traditional banking system, including the potential to disrupt traditional payment rails. Congress has tasked the banking agencies with creating a regulatory framework for stablecoins, and we're working with our colleagues in the other agencies to move this forward. It's essential that banks and regulators are open to engaging in new technologies and departing from the overly cautious mindset. Regulators must understand new products and services and recognize the utility and necessity of embracing technology in the traditional financial sector. And recognize the utility and necessity of embracing technology in the traditional financial sector.
So yeah, when we think about this, they're all talking about stablecoins. They cannot stop talking about stablecoins. Not only can they not stop talking about stablecoins, they're telling us exactly what they're going to do. They're going to innovate and change the entire financial system using these new technologies. You almost have to be blind to not think of Ripple immediately because they have been, first foot through the door almost on every single major occasion. Not to mention the fact that they've been telling us what's happening before it happens, because guess what? There's no coincidence behind this. They are a part of the big plan. This has always been planned since day one. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.